Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really incredible set of principles, and they all stem from a profoundly moving story. It starts with a teacher, a mentor who walked into a school carrying this absolute aura of leadership and a massive standard of excellence. He walks into a classroom, looks at a kid who had been completely written off by society, his peers, literally the whole educational system. I mean, this kid was actually labeled the dumb twin. Can you even imagine carrying that kind of weight around as a child?
And that brings us to the core hook of our explainer today. We're asking the million-dollar question. What is the one thing that will change your life forever? It's a huge, kind of intimidating question, right? So many of us spend decades looking for a magic bullet or some secret hack to success. But the fundamental principles we're going to unpack today strip away all that noise to give you a real, structured blueprint for completely transforming your reality from the inside out.
Because here is where the story shifts. The mentor's philosophy was simple. He saw something in a kid who was told he was the dumb twin, and he decided to plant the seed of greatness. Just think about that core conflict. You grow up being told you're the unintelligent one, and you absorb that identity day after day until it just feels like the absolute truth. But this one teacher outright refused to accept that label. His standard of excellence, and the fact that he was willing to speak life into a broken spirit, changed absolutely everything for that student, and literally set him on a path to global impact.
So, to get there, we've got a roadmap. We're going to cover 4 things today. 1, guarding your mind. 2, raising your standards. 3, mastering your communication. And 4, your reality, your terms.
Starting right off with Section 1, Guarding Your Mind, the Power of Mental Resiliency. This is all about why building a self-development library is your absolute first line of defense.
Okay, get this. 16. There's this fascinating mathematical reality to motivation. Studies actually show that negative information stays in your brain a lot longer, and it's significantly more powerful than positive information. In fact, it takes 16 positive statements to neutralize just one single negative comment. Take a second to really think about that. 16. When you realize how much casual negativity we deal with every single day, a passing insult, a cynical news headline, maybe a pessimistic coworker, you start to understand why it's so incredibly easy to feel defeated. The math is literally stacked against you if you aren't paying attention.
So the crucial takeaway here is that you have to consciously choose positive inputs, things like books, positive audio, self-development material, just to outweigh the negative inputs like the constant news cycle, drama, and what people often call emotional vampires. You can't just passively hope you're going to stay positive. You've got to treat your mind like an elite fortress. If you leave the gates wide open, that negativity naturally sneaks in, lingers, and basically chokes out that seed of greatness. You have to aggressively counter-program your own brain, which means you have to actively edit your life. You need to cut down on the news, which, let's be honest, is almost always designed to trigger fear and anxiety anyway. Step away from negative conversations. Limit your time with people who just drain the life right out of you. And what does that look like in practice? It means setting hard boundaries. If someone calls you to complain for the 5th time this week, you just politely say, hey, I'm focusing on some big goals right now, and I can't really engage in this. If a call is just pure drama, don't even pick it up. Send it straight to voicemail. You have to remember you have an expiration date on this life. Every minute you spend entertaining negativity is a minute you're stealing from your own potential. You simply cannot let people pour trash into your head, or you risk completely disconnecting from your own power.
All right, moving to Section 2, raising your standards, upgrading your circle. It is time to seriously evaluate who you are surrounding yourself with.
That mentor we talked about, he had this golden rule, OQP. It stands for Only Quality People. He basically told his student to separate from the kids slacking off and stick only with the smart ones, the ones actively striving for something better. Consider this a direct challenge to you today to evaluate and upgrade your relationships, like immediately. We've all heard that cliche that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? But how often do we actually audit that inner circle? Listen, if you are the smartest, most ambitious person in your group, you are in the wrong group. You need to go out and find a new one that forces you to level up.
There is a stark contrast between the top and the bottom, and it's actually amazing how many of us will actively dummy ourselves down just to fit in with people who have absolutely nothing going on. It's a defense mechanism, right? We just want to belong. But you simply cannot reach the top by hanging out with people who are super comfortable at the bottom. You have to breathe the same air as high earners, innovators, and achievers if you want to elevate your own life. Get around people making 10, 20, or 100 times more than you. Once you get in those rooms, you'll quickly see they have the exact same basic needs and fears that you do. It completely demystifies success. You realize, hey, if they can do it, so can I.
That brings us to Section 3, mastering your communication.
expressing your vision. Conscious expression will expand your vision way beyond your current circumstances.
Because here is a harsh but undeniable truth. Once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. You could have a heart of gold. You could literally be the most brilliant person on the planet with world-changing ideas. But if you sit down for a job interview or step into a pitch meeting and you cannot effectively communicate your value, you're going to hold yourself back. You won't get the job, you won't get the funding. The source material strongly advises patterning yourself after articulate, educated communicators. Think Martin Luther King Jr. or Winston Churchill. Study how they pause, how they enunciate, how they use words to vividly paint a picture and move entire crowds. Because changing how you present yourself to the world completely changes how the world responds to you. And look at how this builds into an undeniable advantage over time. If you read just one book a month in your area of interest, that becomes 60 books over 5 years. Meanwhile, the average American reads about 5 books in that exact same time frame. 60 versus 5. Imagine the knowledge gap between someone who has absorbed the distilled wisdom of 60 different experts versus someone who just occasionally skims a bestseller at the airport. That consistent habit makes you a definitive expert compared to the average person. It gives you this incredible confidence when you speak, guarantees you'll always have something super valuable to contribute, and it fundamentally changes the trajectory of your life.
Which brings us to our final point, Section 4. Your reality, your terms. Securing your future. It's time to synthesize all these principles and actively secure the life you actually want. Let's bring this narrative full circle. Remember that kid labeled the dumb twin? He made a promise to his mentor that he would make his mother proud and that one day that mentor would hear his name again. He committed to guarding his mind, raising his standards, and mastering his voice. Well, years later, that same mentor was sitting at home watching television, saw his former student succeeding on a massive global stage, and it hit him. He was the one. He was the one. It completely validated that tiny seed of greatness he had planted all those years ago. The transformation was complete.
And that gives us the absolute ultimate takeaway of this explainer. Someone else's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Whether it's a teacher calling you dumb, a boss saying you aren't ready, or society just trying to put you in a neat little box, that is just their opinion. Act well your part. Take these principles, OQP, guarding your mental inputs, upgrading how you communicate, and become so relentlessly good that they literally cannot deny you. You have to make a conscious choice today to stop reading a script written by somebody else and start living life entirely on your own terms.
So we're going to end today with the exact same provocative question that Mentor asked all those years ago. What do you want to do with your life? Seriously, it is your time. Make your stand, guard your mind, upgrade your circle, master your voice, and actively decide what kind of greatness you are going to build. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.